Hey guys, Austin Cole here. Today I'm going to show you how I show houses. So I put out a video actually a couple months ago where I spoke a little bit about how my deals almost never fall apart. I mean, if I have a buyer that I'm working with and we write an offer on a property, it almost always goes together unless there's some sort of financing problem. And the reason why is because of the way that I show houses. So I think if you're a seller, if you're a buyer, or even if you're a realtor, this is a really good video for you to watch.
So like the first thing is when you go around the outside of the house, I'm always looking at like the way that the land is pitched around the house, because it's about 1 in 3 houses I go in that have some sort of basement problem. And it has everything to do with the way that the soil is in Wisconsin. And I'll tell you a little bit more about it once we go down to the basement.
Now, another big part of the house is the roof, right? A roof is like a really expensive part of the house. I mean, when you talk about the bones of a house, you got the foundation, you got the roof, and you got like the windows. I mean, those are like sort of like the main components of the house that, if there's damage or if there's problems, those are expensive. Other than that, going around the outside, guys, I mean, I always just look at the siding, and you got to be able to identify what kind of siding it is. Like, this is vinyl siding. It's like a plastic siding, so this would be considered like a maintenance-free siding. You don't paint this. This is just like this always, and you just look to see if it's damaged or if anything's popping off. And then the other thing is I always look at the windows on the outside too. So these are all aluminum wrapped window frames, and they're all caulked and sealed pretty nice. So like that looks pretty good to me. So really, guys, once I'm inside the house with people, there's not like a whole lot for me to talk about in terms of like cosmetics, because I always tell people, if you're gonna like the house. The buyers know if they're gonna like the house. So you don't really need the realtor to come in and tell you, like, look how beautiful the floors are. I'm just looking for issues to help people prepare for what's going to come down the line. Or if you're looking to sell the house, I'm coming over to do the market analysis. I'm going to tell you what the home inspector is going to come up with, so that way you don't have surprises, and that way we can price the property appropriately. Most of the time when I come into a house, guys, I'll just go to the basement right away. 75% of the showing should be in the basement. The rest is upstairs, determining if people like the house and how it looks. But this is really what's important down here. So the first thing is I like to look at the appliances. And I can tell right away a lot about the appliances just by looking at them. The furnace has these 2 PVC pipes. One of them's the intake for outside air, and then one of them's the exhaust. And it's PVC, and it just goes right out the side of the house. It doesn't use the chimney. And that's how you can tell it's a high efficiency furnace too. So I can tell that, and then the water heater is a power vented water heater. It's got a motor on the top here. This is the exhaust, and this goes outside. And those are the 2 appliances in most basements. Okay, another thing I always like to check on is like the plumbing here. So here's a perfect example. This is old galvanized steel plumbing, okay? This stuff kind of like corrodes on the inside and gets clogged on the inside after a while. What you really want in your house is copper plumbing like this. Or in a lot of new houses, they use PEX, which is the plastic PVC plumbing. But most people would agree that the copper is the best. The other thing I do is come over to the electrical panel. You can tell right away if the electrical panel is bad or not. So, if you don't have a main breaker like this, if you have like a box up here and it pulls out, it's a fuse box. That's not modern. You have to update that. It's a fuse. You don't want fuses. This is a breaker panel. This is the modern way to do an electrical panel. So when you see this, that's good. I guess the last thing that I look for down in the basement would be the walls. So like I was saying, and unfortunately this basement has their walls covered up by this paneling, which is actually totally unnecessary and should never be done. It's a block basement, meaning the basement is made out of cinder blocks stacked up and mortared together. Okay, and it's always right here. It's always right here. About halfway down on the wall is where you get these horizontal cracks, and the reason why is because the soil, the ground, turns to clay here. Once you dig down more than a couple feet, you're into clay. So what happens is if this dirt up here is all soaked with water from melting snow or like big torrential downpours and stuff like that, and then it freezes, it gets cold. Water expands when it freezes, and so that dirt actually expands. The clay stays where it is. So this isn't frozen down here, this is up here, so it expands and pushes in on the wall, and it creates a crack along the wall. And that's a major problem. You don't have that problem if you have a poured concrete foundation. So I always look for that too. What type of foundation does the house have? Usually you don't have that problem too in really old basements that are made out of fieldstone, because the walls are like 2 feet thick. That's kind of what I look at down here. I mean, this is really where the guts of the house are. You can look at plumbing too and see if there's any like weird drains. So that's why my deals almost never fall apart, guys, because I'm always looking at these things and I'm telling buyers about it up front, not in a way that discourages people from moving forward if they really, really love the house, but in a way that says, hey, in my experience, I think that an inspector is probably going to talk about this. Here's some things I've seen in the past that are almost always wrong, or here's some upgrades that have been performed that look really good to my eye, and this is what I anticipate how an inspection would go on this place. So that's my thoughts, guys. So I hope that helps, and I guess any questions, reach out to me, and thanks for watching, everybody. Take care, and we'll see you next time.